So I was watching the Family Guy Thanksgiving episode, the one from season 10 that rips off the All in the Family episode, The Draft Dodger, where Joe's son Kevin, comes back and be like, "I'm alive. I didn't really die in the Iraq War." And then it turns out that he dodged the draft. Well, not dodged the draft, dodged went AWOL. And when I was younger, one thing I used to really admire about Family Guy, like watching as like a teenager or whatever, and like a young adult, is like kind of how sometimes like overt and just straightforward they could be about like putting forth kind of their political ideology, just like this is what we believe, like it or lump it, and they make stories based around that. Their views about politics, religion, social issues, whatever. And this episode is very much that. But like when you get older and you kind of like watch other stuff that does it better, you're like, this isn't really that well done. I mean, the arguments are coherent enough, but it's like, just as far as things like the storytelling and joke telling and stuff, it's not that well written. It lacks any sort of like subtlety, which is good with this kind of stuff. And it's like, I mean, look at this joke right here. Even just not a political one. There's nothing subtle about this. It's just right in your face. Here's an observation about society. But like when you get to like the political and like social commentary and stuff, it's like it definitely can help. Like I said, some storytelling and just humor. It's not that good. Like you have the whole sequence here with like Kevin, going on kind of his rant and explanation about why he went AWOL and stuff like that. And it's just like this kind of dramatic thing where this guy's going, and they're giving their opinion, about like how, whatever, war is bad, you gotta do what's right, the law isn't always moral, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I don't know. And like, they don't include, it'd be better if they used jokes and like satire to do it, like South Park is an example of something that often does the political commentary better. And they use like the jokes to put forth the ideas. And here they're just like, let's just have this kind of like dramatic kind of, Kevin ranting and throw in some random jokes. Peter's just like, oh, I gotta get up early tomorrow. That's annoying. It's just random. And like, as far as like changing people's minds can go, like, I think having good humor and a good story helps to get people to swallow the opinion that they might not agree with better. And if you can make it more clever and more funny, and just better writing in general, I think, this kind of thing might be better to change people's minds if that's what your goal is. If you just want to, tell people what they already believe, whatever.